Thank you for joining today. Let me turn my stuff off on this side. All right. My name is Melanie Mirzayan. I'm the owner of Wild Bakes and Cakes here in Texas. If you guys are in Texas, you know how hot and kind of crazy the summer has been. So hopefully you guys are staying cool. I'm trying to do the same. Today, we are going to learn how to make cheeseburger cupcakes and sugar cookie French fries. I mean, who doesn't like French fries? I know, I love them. They're not the healthiest food for you, but they're definitely tasty. Before we get started, during the class, if you guys have any questions or if you have any comments, please feel free to put it in the chat. So I'll be able to address it during class and kind of help you guys along. If something pops up in your head, like after the class, you can go to my Instagram page, Wild Bakes, and you can send me messages there directly, any questions, and I'll be more than happy to help you guys there as well. All right, with that said, let's get started with our desserts. Let's go to the top-down camera, please. All right. Sorry, my camera is a little bit showing dark on this side, but let's go over all the materials and all the goodies we're gonna need. You're obviously going to need your cupcakes. And for the cupcakes, the best flavor that works well is yellow cake, vanilla cake, or I did mine kind of a cinnamon cake. So it's got a little bit of a darker tone to it, which is okay. Essentially, it could be like a wheat hamburger bun. So those are all kind of acceptable for this kind of dessert. All right. You're going to need your brownies for our hamburger meat. Just a side note on that, you guys can also make chocolate cupcakes and use the bottom portion of the cupcake for your meat. That's just a side note. If you don't want to, mess with brownies, or if you don't like them, you can also do it that way as well. Okay. And of course, we are going to need our buttercream. And with buttercream, we are going to make our ketchup and our mustard. And you will need your dough for your sugar cookies. And your colors, we need red and yellow. Okay, so we're going to make ketchup and mustard with them. You need your fondant. I chose white because I want to show you guys how to color the fondant. But you can essentially buy these little packets from Michael's. They have a bazillion different colors. So if you don't want to mess with coloring your fondant, you can just go ahead and get the color that you want, the yellow, the orange, whatever it is. They also sell them in different sizes. My suggestion would be, if you're doing something that's a smaller, like a smaller thing that you're working with, a smaller dessert you're working with, you don't need a lot of fondant, and you're not going to use it for in the near future, go ahead and buy the small ones, because once you open them, they do end up drying out pretty quickly. I mean, you can wrap them really tight with plastic wrapping and keeping it in kind of the foil wrapping, but essentially they do dry out and you don't want it to go to waste. For me, I usually buy the big buckets just because I use them all the time. Okay, so for today, like I said, I'll go ahead and show you guys how to color the white one. All right, then we're gonna need our tips and our couplers and some cookie cutters, the circle ones, because that's how we're gonna cut our brownie into our meat shape. Yum. All right, I think that's pretty much kind of the gist of it. Oh, and then for our lettuce, of course, we're gonna need our coconut flakes and our green color. So for the colors, these are the easiest, the drops are the easiest ones to use, but they also have them in kind of a gel form with different colors. So I'm going to show you how to do one with the gel, just so you can kind of see how that works as well. Okay. because sometimes these guys, they'll have all the colors you want, but sometimes they'll have like the primary colors, and then they'll give you like a little cheat sheet of what to mix, what color to mix with what color, how many drops to get a certain shade. And those are awesome if you are customizing something that needs to be a particular color for a theme. Okay. All right. So for today's class, we're going to do it in two separate kind of sections. We'll do our cupcake burger first, and then we'll clean it up, and then we'll do our cookies last, okay? Because the cookies kind of get messy with the flour and all of that, but the hardest part is kind of the cupcake, okay? So for the cookies, I already made some.
Hey, Melanie, we have a quick question about, I believe the coloring. Why use oil versus gel? Which is better for buttercream and fondant?
Oils. So they have coloring that specifically says, go over here, guys. It specifically says oil-based, and the oil-based ones are primarily for chocolate, because these guys are kind of water-based, I believe, and they do well with fondant and buttercream. The oil one, again, it's for chocolate, because chocolate and water, they kind of don't go together. So if you try to like mix one of these colors, it ends up messing up your chocolate. And it just doesn't come out right. So when you guys are buying your colors, make sure you are conscious about like read the labels, right? Just to make sure you're buying the right one. Essentially, you can use the oil-based in the buttercream. It's not gonna do anything crazy, but the rule is oil is for chocolate, and the rest of them are for like your buttercreams and for your fondants. I hope that answered your question. All right, so let's start making our ketchup and our mustard first. So I'm going to clean up my mess a little bit over here. Okay, if you guys are following the class, we are going to separate our buttercream into two separate bowls because essentially, you know, we have two different colors we wanna make. And for the buttercream, I had a question last class. There isn't necessarily a specific bowl that you should use, whether it's plastic or glass. You can essentially use whatever you want. It's not like you're melting chocolate or anything like that. The only thing to keep in mind is if you're using white plastic bowls, sometimes the colors end up staining your bowl. So just kind of be mindful of that, okay? Where the glass is pretty much easy and nothing really goes wrong with it. Okay, so we're gonna take a little bit of the white one into our bowl. And again, you have to gauge how many cupcakes you're making, because you don't wanna like end up coloring a whole bunch of buttercream a certain color where you only need a little bit, and then everything else just kind of goes to waste. Okay, so we have one, and then I'll show you guys how to color that as well. All right, so go ahead and separate your buttercream into two sections, two bowls, just like that. Spatulas work great. You can use spoon, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now we need to make our mustard. Hope you guys could see that. Take this guy over. Okay, so for the mustard, obviously, we're going to use our yellow. And always remember that you want to start with just like 1 or 2 drops, depending on the shade or the shade of the yellow or the color that you want. Because if you end up putting a whole bunch in there and you get this like super bright color that you didn't want, it's hard to dilute that color, right? You can add more buttercream to it and kind of go about it that way. But it's always safe to like start with like 1 drop because these guys are super concentrated, and they, for the most part, they're very bright. All right, so we're gonna go with 1, maybe 2 colors or 2 drops, and then see what we get here. and then just give it a good mix, just like that. And again, you can use a spatula or you can use spoon and just give it a good mix until everything is incorporated, and then kind of gauge, you know, it's like, okay, do I need to add a little bit more because this is not as bright as I want it to be? And then we'll go from there. I think I'm going to use one more drop or so just to make it a little bit darker. Okay, just like that. And you guys can also start mixing colors once you kind of understand the color theory of what goes where to create what color. I'm sure you guys all know that. So that applies to here as well. You know, if you add a little bit of red in there, you'll be able to get the oranges. So you can definitely play around and do it that way as well. Okay. All right, so we have our yellow, our mustard. Okay, so now we're gonna make our ketchup. Just a side note, I was just thinking about this. Sometimes when you have such a small batch and you don't want to make a whole bunch of buttercream and you just need like a specific color, for example, red or black, like the more saturated colors, you can buy pre-made buttercream. I know Michael sells them. They sell them, I think, in like little tubes, but I know they also sell them in buckets as well. And it's ready to go. And you guys just can, you know, open it up and do what you need to and not mess with the whole coloring and all of that. All right, so we have our red. I'm gonna go ahead and do a couple, maybe 2-3 drops here. Sometimes red is really hard to get the shade that you want. So again, like sometimes I'll go and buy the pre-made one just because it's already ready to go and it's the perfect color that I need. Okay. All right, so we're gonna give this a good mix, just like that. Mine is actually looking, I don't know if it's my light, but it's a little bit on the pink side. I don't know what you guys are getting on your end, but if that's the case, we're gonna start adding more drops just to kind of get that deep red ketchup look and feel that we're looking for. Okay. I'm gonna squeeze a whole bunch in there and give it a good mix again. I think this one, it should do it. All right, so as long as it's not looking like noticeably pink, I think you can get away with it not being, you know, super, super dark red. And keep in mind as well, the more color you end up putting in your buttercream, the more bitter it's gonna start to taste. So just remember that as well. I know it kind of stinks that it does that, but especially with like the blacks and the reds, you could definitely start tasting the color in there. All right, so I got my red ready to go. Got my ketchup. I have my mustard. So now we're gonna put them in our piping bags and get that ready, and then we can move on to our next step. So for the piping bags, these are my favorite. I know Michael's has a whole bunch of different ones, different brands as well. The thing that you guys want to pay attention to when you're reading labels on these guys, they have like different quantities, which is fine, but you want to look at how big your bag is. Okay. They have, so this one is 16 inches. There is 12 inches. The 12 inches is, actually, I have one. I can show you the difference. So see, it says 12 inches, 16 inches. So the 12 inches is going to be a smaller bag. And those are perfect for stuff like this, because you don't want this ginormous bag where you're putting only a little bit of buttercream or chocolate or anything like that in there. Today, I'm actually going to use the 16-inch, the big one, just so you guys kind of see the difference there. But if you have a 12-inch for this, that's perfect. Okay. The 16-inch is usually for for cakes. So if you're decorating a cake or you're trying to put buttercream on the cake, you want to go with a bigger one. Or if you're frosting a cupcake, the bigger one is better because you're essentially using a lot of product in there, right? So you want to make sure you have the room to work with. Okay. So let's get some of these in the bags. My little handy dandy tool that I use usually is a tall glass because it makes things so much easier. And all you have to do is essentially use this to be able to put your buttercream inside your piping bag. Okay. So for this one, we are going to use our tips. These guys, where they're just plain, plain circle. Okay, they have like different sizes, and you kind of gauge what your project is, and you don't need something super big where everything just like falls out. For the cupcakes that we're working with, these are kind of perfect. Okay, and I think this one is tip number 10. And this one is tip number 12. So the higher the number goes, the bigger the top hole goes. Okay. So I'm going to actually do one of each, and then that way you guys can kind of see the difference there. And then you need your couplers, and this unscrew and you open it up. So the big piece is the piece that actually goes inside the bag. Okay. So the open part goes in first. So you get it in there, all the way in there until it's nice and snug, just like that. And we're gonna cut the excess out, and you wanna cut it to where the wiggly lines start. So like right about there. Okay. You just kind of trim it up. It pulls off pretty easily. All right. Okay. And then next would be your tip. So your tip goes right there. And the little piece goes on top, and that's how you screw the tip in there nice and tight. So make sure it's like nice and snug. Make sure your bag is secure. It's not coming off from the edges. Okay, we're ready to go. So you put your bag facing down into your cup, and you open it up and over your cup. So it just essentially becomes a nice little holder. Okay. And then that's how you just get your buttercream and plop it right in there. Let's get it all in. Okay. All right. So we got our ketchup in there. And you can just see easily pull it up. Nice and clean. And you got it inside your bag. And then you'll just start squeezing, pushing everything down to the tip. All right. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Just kind of like that. Bring it all. There you go. All that. So we're going to put this aside for a second, and we're going to do the same thing with our mustard. All right. So I have my bag. I got my little coupler. Open this guy up. And it goes face down. Oops. Okay. I'm going to cut this up. All right, so this one is the other tip, the one that's a little bit bigger. Again, it doesn't matter. I just trying to do two different sizes just so you guys can see the difference if anybody is wondering how it's going to come out. All right, so same thing. Just make sure it's nice and tight. We're going to put our stuff back into the cup. Okay. Get our mustard in there. Just like that. We have plenty of ketchup and mustard for this. All right, we're gonna do the same thing. And if you guys give it like a good shake like that, the buttercream starts to go all the way down, and it makes it easier to start kind of pushing it down to get everything to the edge. Okay, so we got that ready to go. Now we need to make our lettuce. So for the lettuce, we are going to use our coconut flakes. And again, this is just, it could be sweetened, unsweetened, it literally doesn't matter, right? We just need some to work with. Okay. Yeah, I think that should be good. All right, so now I'll show you guys how to do the gel. Okay, so for the gel, you need toothpicks to work with this. And again, be careful because the colors are so saturated that they literally stain everything. Okay, so if you want to maybe wear a glove while you're doing that, that's kind of the best way to go. If not, you end up having colorful fingers, which I normally end up having. And my son makes fun of me. Okay, so toothpick, you get a little bit of the gel. Okay, just like that, however much you need. And kind of either put it in your buttercream to color it up or put it in here so we can mix it up and get that green that we want. Now keep in mind, I might have to use my fingers for this, so I'll put on a glove actually. Once you dip your toothpick in here, you don't want to double dip, okay? Because you're going to end up contaminating your color and you won't be able to use it. So always have plenty of toothpicks around and just, you use it, you need more, grab a new one and kind of go about it that way. All right. I'm going to put that there. Let me put on my gloves because I thought this would work with a spoon, but I don't think it is. And if you have the drop ones, the gel, the liquid one, it's that one's easier. That one you can mix it in there and just kind of do what you need to quickly. Okay. Just wanted to show you guys the gel version. If you ever come across and you wonder, whoops, how to use it, that's how you do it. So let me get actually a lot more. It seems like I need. All right, so I'm going to just mix it up and hopefully get what I need out of this. Just like that. Kind of color it up until we get some green in there. I think I put too much coconut flakes in there, but that's all right. We'll use what we end up getting here. Okay, so if you guys are doing this, if you're using the other color, I think you would have better luck than I'm having right now. But all right, so we have some we can work with, right? Got it nice and green, at least on this side. All right, so now we have our lettuce. I'm gonna take this out. Now we have to prep our buns and get our meat ready. And actually, no, let's do our cheese. I forgot about the cheese. I don't normally eat cheeseburgers, but cheese is good in this case. Okay, so we're gonna open up our white fondant. And remember, once you open these guys up, they dry up pretty quickly. So you wanna make sure you're wrapping up the rest that you're not using, because it'll get super hard and you won't be able to do anything with it. Okay. All right, so now we have to color. Actually, I'm going to get a little bit more. We're going to do 2 cupcakes. And we are going to color this guy. So again, remember, I'm not going to use gloves for this. I'm not going to stain my fingers, but that's all right. Working with colors, it does get messy. Move all these guys over. All right. So now I'm going to use, if you have an orange one, you can definitely go ahead and use your orange one. I'm going to use my yellow one and see how it comes out. If it doesn't look like cheese, maybe I'll add a little bit of red in there just to kind of get that orange look and feel to it. And I think I got a little bit of green here. It's being very messy today. I just take that out so we don't need green in there. Okay. And again, you know, just do 1 or 2 drops to start with. Oops. And the way you mix this in, well, the way I mix it in, that works for me. There's literally a bazillion different ways of doing this, and it just comes down to essentially preference. I usually put it in the middle and I'll fold it in, and I'll keep folding it just to keep it away from my fingers. Oh, look at that. I have some green in there. Yeah, make sure your fingers are clean or else you're going to get all these weird colors in there as well. Get that out. And you just keep folding until you get the whole thing colored the shade that you want. And essentially you are going to get your fingers dirty, unfortunately. All right, but this seems to be working. So you just kind of pull, fold, pull and fold until we get everything incorporated and we don't see any more white. Okay, so I think for mine, because I used the yellow, I'm going to add a tiny bit of red. And hopefully it'll give me a better better cheese and not a lump of mustard. Okay, so I put the red in there. Again, same thing. I'm going to start pulling and incorporating it in there, just like that. Okay, if it starts to get sticky, you guys can always use vegetable shortening. Just get a little bit on your fingers and rub it all over it, and it'll make it less sticky, especially if you're trying to roll the fondant out and it gets kind of sticky. Okay, so we have our cheese, and let's see, let me put all this away so I don't make more messes. Okay, so let's see, let's go ahead and maybe cut up our cheese at this point, just so we have everything ready to go. Okay, and the way you do that, you have to roll out, make sure I don't color my cheese with some weird color here. Okay, so just kind of get your fondant flat, and the small rollers are great for projects like this, and usually they'll come with these little tiny like rubber bands on each side, and you'll see multiple color ones, and each color determines kind of how thick your fondant or your dough essentially would be. Okay, and what this does is it keeps your dough or your fondant pretty straight, pretty even, so you don't end up getting you know, where one side is super flat, one side is super thick, and it's just a mess. This kind of keeps everything super nice and consistent. Okay, and I love working with these. They are awesome. Okay, so we're going to roll this out, and we want to make sure we cut a square big enough for our cupcake. Okay, so just kind of gauge how big your cupcake is and how big of a square you're going to need to put on top of it. Okay, so we want the cheese kind of drip over the cupcake a little bit, so you don't want it to be too small. You don't want it to be too big where it's kind of like flopping all over and it just doesn't look good or realistic. Okay, and you don't want it to be too thin or too thick. You guys all know kind of the thickness of cheese, so kind of go with that. All right, so I'm going to use a knife to kind of cut my fondant in a square. So again, I'm going to kind of gauge how big I want my cheese to be. We'll start here. If you have a square cutter, that's even better. You know, make sure it's the right size and then just cut away. You can always go small if your cheese is kind of too big. but let's see what mine comes out. Okay. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because cheese is not perfect. I think this is good. Let me see. This might be good. Okay. So we got our cheese. I'm gonna put this aside. And again, once we put it on there, if it's too big, we can just chop off the sides. So it's, you know, don't freak out if it's not the right size. And you can always mush it back into your fondant ball and then kind of start over, right? It's super easy. Okay. I'm gonna wrap up my fondant because I don't want that to dry out. All right, so now let's assemble our cupcakes. Are you guys ready? I've been talking this whole time and hopefully you guys are all caught up and now it's time for the fun to begin. All right, so we have our cupcake. We're gonna cut this kind of in half, right? Because we want the bun, the top and the bottom. So we're gonna cut this up. Okay, separate it just like that. And we're gonna start layering. And essentially there really isn't any right way or wrong way of layering this guy. I'm gonna start with my mustard. So I'm gonna do mustard, meat, cheese, ketchup, and lettuce. Okay, if you guys want to do it a different way, please feel free to be as creative as you want. Essentially, this is your cheeseburger, so let's have fun with it. All right, so for our mustard, we're gonna make sure everything is pushed all the way to the bottom. We're gonna hold it between our thumb, like that, and we're gonna twist. 1, 2. So we have a better grip on this thing, okay? If you guys are new to this, this is one way of doing it. But if you guys have been doing this for a while, I'm sure you guys have your own way that you're comfortable with, all right? So now we're gonna do our mustard. We wanna make sure we have it at the bottom bun, okay? And we're just gonna kind of go like a zigzag kind of shape. All right. Excuse me. Grab some water. Allergies in Texas are a real thing. And it's driving me crazy. All right, so now we have our mustard ready to go. And now we're gonna do our meat. Now we need to cut our meat. I forgot to show you guys that, sorry. All right, so we have our brownie. Sorry, guys. It's the tingle in the throat. Okay, so essentially we want our circles. Okay, cut it up. Just like that. Out of the way. And this, obviously, you don't want it to be too thick or too thin. It's just kind of whatever visually looks fine, right? So that goes on top. Okay, so we see a little bit of yellow on the side. And now we're gonna put our cheese. Okay. Just like that. I think mine is maybe a little bit too big, so I'm gonna chop off a little bit of the sides. Okay, make sure it's not too floppy. Okay, I think this is okay. All right, now next layer is our ketchup. Same thing, you wanna push everything down. Okay, twist, twist. And same thing, we just wanna get some, so annoying, this cough. Ketchup in there, okay? Wanna make sure we see it from the sides but we don't want it to like drip out. All right. And then we have our lettuce. So remember this guy. I'm gonna get a little bit, put it on top, just like that. All right. Let's see, I think it's starting to look good. And if you have little white sprinkles, you guys could put some on top for a sesame bun, essentially. Okay. Kind of cover the top, push it down gently, and voila, we have our, see if you guys could see it there, our cheeseburger. It's ready to go. I wish I could see what you guys come up with and how your hamburger or cheeseburger ends up looking like. So please feel free to, or don't forget, I should say, to post it and tag me, Wild Bakes, or make it with Michael's, so I'll be able to see what you guys come up with, okay? It's always fun to see other people's work. All right, so we have our cupcake or cheeseburger cupcake ready to go. And make sure we're not running out of time. And now we're gonna make our hamburger or our fries, sugar cookie fries. I made this cute little kind of like holder for my fries. If you guys like it and if you want the template, send me a message on Instagram and I'll send it to you guys. But you guys could have so much fun with stuff like this, okay? All right, so let me clean up my mess so we can essentially we need to roll out our sugar cookie dough, and I'll show you guys how to cut it up into French fry shape. Okay. Right. Made a huge mess over here, but that's all right. My hamburger. And I always have parchment paper everywhere. It's super easy to work with and it's super easy to clean afterwards. All right. Make sure we get all the stuff out of the way. And for the sugar cookie dough, you guys can just use the dough as is, or you can essentially add a little bit of very tiny amount of yellow color to it, just to kind of give it a more realistic French fry look, but it's not necessary. Okay. It's just, again, comes down to preference and how perfect you want something to be look like. Essentially, it's going to taste the same, which is good and yummy. All right. So now we have our cookie dough. Essentially, the texture, you want it to be Play-Doh texture, okay, where it's not too sticky. And if it is, no worries, because we're gonna essentially put flour down and that'll absorb some of the moisture. All right, I'm gonna take a little chunk. Let me get my flour. All right, and this is just, I'm using a regular like baking flour, nothing special or crazy. All right, so you just wanna put a little bit down because you don't want your stuff to stick, your dough to stick. I'm gonna spread it out. And again, this is just, it comes down to preference and what really works with your style. And you kind of do it that way. Okay. So we kind of smoosh it down and we're gonna roll it out. So for our fries, essentially you could do a couple different ways or shapes. There's like the traditional skinny fries or the thicker, the fat fries. There's a place called Fat Burgers. I don't know if you guys have been there or heard of it, but I absolutely love their hamburgers and their fries. And they have skinny fries and they have fat fries. And I love their fat fries. So again, you could do it skinny, you could do it fat, however you want, but the thickness kind of needs to be realistic to like an actual fry, right? You don't want it to be like too flat. The length you could make you don't want to make them super long because they end up breaking anyways. So just keep it more realistic. Okay. And we're going to roll it out. So for this, I'm actually going to take the little rubbery things out for now because I know the thickness I want. And you're just going to get it nice and even. Spread it out to the thickness that your French fries are going to be. Okay. And if it gets a little sticky, we can just put a little bit of flour on there. Okay. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want it to be super flat on one side and like chunky on the other side. Once you get the thickness that you want your fries to be, you can use essentially a knife or a pizza cutter, like the rollers. Those are easy to do this as well. I prefer a knife just because I feel like I have more control over it this way. And we want to get pretty much nice and straight lines on the side, right? Okay, so you're going to kind of do that. And you can always, mush the rest and roll it again and do the process all over. Okay. So once we have our shape, again, it doesn't have to be completely perfect. You just don't want it to be kind of all over the place. Okay. And once you gauge how fat your fries you want them to be, you start drawing kind of lines, vertical lines, just like that, all the way down. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want it to be somewhat straight. Okay. And again, this might be easier for some of you guys with the pizza rollers, but I prefer a knife, so I'm just gonna stick with that. And these are kind of too long for a French fry, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut it again this way. Okay. Just like that. All right. There we go. And you guys, depending on what recipe you used, essentially you would line these up on a baking pan, which I got one, and you want to space them out just like that. Okay. And kind of just fill in your pan. All right. And I think for mine, it's about, I think 6 to 8 minutes in the oven for 350 Fahrenheit. But whatever your recipe is requiring you to bake them, you go ahead and do that. Sometimes I leave them a little bit longer. I don't want to dry them out, but I want them to kind of have that kind of golden French fry look. Okay. And again, once you pull them out of the oven, you have cool looking French fries. All right. So we're gonna stack these up. And like I said, I have, where did I put? There we go. This guy over here, my little handy dandy French fry container. And again, if you want the pattern for it, let me know, or the layout for it, I'll send it to you guys. And then you have your hamburger. Okay. And there you go. Now you have a complete meal ready to go. I know kids love it. My son loves it. He thinks it's like the coolest thing ever. And he kind of, at first he actually got grossed out. I'm like, do you want a French fry? And he's like, no. I'm like, well, they're actually cookies. And then he looked at it. He's like, no. And then he took a bite and he was like, oh my gosh, these are actually really good. So some people I know, they're like, no, it kind of looks too real. I'm not going to eat it, but it's essentially pretty delicious. All right. So that's kind of the gist of how to make hamburger or cheeseburger cupcakes. It's super easy. It just, has a lot of different steps that you have to prep. that sometimes gets, not annoying is not the word, just time consuming, I guess. But once you have everything ready to go and you're gonna make a whole bunch of these for like a birthday party or anything like that, it goes pretty quickly. The assembly goes pretty quickly. And obviously the fries, you make a big batch in the first place. So you'll have a whole bunch of French fries to fill in the plates and stuff like that. All right, so that's pretty much it for this class. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the chat right now. Chanel will help me kind of navigate through them quickly. If not, you can always direct message me, like I said, on Instagram, Wild Bakes, and we can go from there. All right.
So we have a question and a comment. So first, Sue said, "This is absolutely adorable, both the cheeseburger and the fries."
Thank you. They're so fun.
And then Bratha asked, "How can you add sesame seeds to the bun with sprinkles?"
Oh, yes. I think we kind of missed that step. So what you would essentially do, you put the sesame seeds on a plate, right? You just kind of pour them on a plate, and you take the top of your cupcake and you kind of push it into the sprinkles, and most of them will kind of stick to your cupcake, and it would look pretty real. And if it's not sticking, what you could do is you can make sugar water. So a little bit of sugar with a little bit of water and kind of just glaze over it just a little bit, just to get it a little bit tiny moist. And then you dip it into your sprinkles, and then you should get the nice coating of the sesame on your bun. Okay, I hope that helps. Any other questions?
That seems to be it for the questions.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, this was fun. Definitely messy on my end. So I'm pretty sure it's messy on your end as well. My next class next week, I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm mixing breakfast and kind of dessert ideas together and experimenting with sweet potato in so essentially we're making waffles, gourmet waffles, and using sweet potato. So there's the purple sweet potato and there's the orange sweet potato. Utilizing them or incorporating them in our waffles, we can change the color of our waffles to green and to blue. It's actually really cool. So I'm really excited about this class, but essentially it'll be waffles on a stick, and I'll show you guys how to kind of decorate them, whether it's for like the healthier options with fruits, or using chocolates and kind of creating like fun patterns and things like that. Okay, so don't forget to sign up for that class. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. Sorry, I had a little bit of a cough attack with my crazy allergies in Texas, but I hope you guys enjoyed the class. If you have any questions, let me know, and don't forget to sign up for my next class. All right. Hope you guys have a great day today. Bye.